God, I hated that voice. It's so annoying.
You can tell we're recording by Zoom, guys. You might not be able to hear it, but we can.
Definitely, unfortunately.
If you've been on Zoom in the last 3 years, you'll know what we're on about. So hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hub podcast. This is episode 16, and the conversation this month is all about sales and marketing. Yes, it's the big fish in the room when we talk about sales and marketing. And as you know, if you're a regular listener, I normally cover this topic in 2 parts, but you can't have sales without marketing and vice versa. I describe it as marketing is your shop front window. It's what attracts people to come and find out more. But if you don't have the sales process behind you in the shop to take the sale, then it's a wasted effort, in my opinion. You've got to have that return on investment, as you know, I talk about a lot. So today we've been kindly with Elliot of Example Marketing, kindly asked him to come along and share his story, really, because yes, he does marketing and sales, and his journey as well, coming into his own right over the past 3 months, has been quite inspiring in the local business community. And I think it's always good for you guys to listen to the experts rather than me going on every month about your strategy and your processes and your sales and your marketing, etc. So I'm just going to hand it over to Elliot to explain a little bit more about himself. So Elliot, who are you and what do you do?
Thanks, Zoe. That's perfect. I guess the best way to introduce myself is I'm Elliot Ghali, the founder and the marketing strategist behind Example Marketing. We've been going for coming up to 3 months now, which is quite cool. I say we because it's not just me anymore, which is kind of scary to think of that in 3 months. But I think really the main reason where I've got to here is because I'm passionate about training businesses to actually do it for themselves, rather than realizing that outsourcing is great, but you can also sometimes outsource too much when you can take it back into your own hands. So I'm kind of here just to help small business owners and kind of apprentices as well, and general managers understand that marketing can be something that you do alongside your daily routine, with just easy steps and processes. And hopefully we're going to tell a few people those today. Yeah,
definitely, because I think that's why we're similar and we do get on, because we have a saying, education is key. If you don't understand it, how do you know how to outsource it? And it's the same when you're looking at your core fundamentals in your business, to looking at your market research, to your market, to your sales, to really anything that you need to move your business forward. So education is key, and that deliverable on educating your clients is just super important. It's an evergreen service, in my opinion, because it's empowering them on how to do it, and that's obviously what you do very well. So where does your background stem from, Elliot, to give a little bit of foundation? How long have you been in this industry? What made you come into standing in your own right, and be an Example Marketing?
Well, where do I start? I guess, well, to be in the marketing industry, we're just over 3 years, around 3 years. And that was through a whole period of COVID as well. And that was teaching, educating people how to market themselves and learn how to market themselves in one of the worst periods for the British economy in terms of business. But I started actually, I was 16 and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be a sports commentator because I love football. Yeah. And as you can imagine, I love talking as well and letting people hear me. That's why I'm here. But then I started to really enjoy the talking aspect of things. And I then did digital media. And it was actually in my digital media qualifications, which I started to learn the whole advertising route, which covered photography, videography, and then advertising campaigns. And it was actually one campaign which I really enjoyed analyzing. And it was, I don't know if you remember it, Zoe, it's called the This Girl Can campaign. Don't you remember it? But it was actually, when you look into the psychology of the marketing behind it, it was actually really bad, because it actually just highlighted the stereotypes rather than show the solutions to it. It just said, these are the stereotypes, this girl can, rather than saying this girl can do what, for example. and it was kind of really bad the way they market it. I was just thinking, how does such a big campaign do that? But they always get things wrong sometimes. And then I left, and I actually, believe it or not, I went into kind of the trade industry for a couple of years just to make my own money. Quite independent. And then I left at 20 years old to go and join my first marketing company in that corporate side. Went from being a sales assistant, making calls after calls after calls every single day for the salespeople. Then I developed to become the salesperson, the business development manager, and I still had that passion to learn and drive and educate. And then eventually I was managing all 100 of the company's clients, making their strategies, training them all, as well as then the franchisees for that company. And then I decided to leave, join a franchise of themselves, and then it just got to the point where I've got to do something different. And I'm very stubborn. You've not got that yet from me, Zoe, but I'm really stubborn. So I like to do things my way. So I kind of thought, right, e.g., Elliot Ghali stands for me. I want to be the head of the show. But then I thought, as I tried to work on my humility a little bit more, companies be more than me. So I thought, when you write e.g. down, there's example. So we all lead by example. We should do, instead of following the herd, and that's going to get you recognized. So I thought, example marketing, it's not on Companies House. There's no companies really market themselves apart from one in Norfolk. And I thought, right, I'll try to make example marketing the place in the north.
Amazing. And the reason I wanted you to share that is because some of our listeners are very, well, like yourself, at the start of self-employment journey, but in a way, you're not at the start of your journey. A lot of people said that to me when I first started my first business and events. They were like, oh, you don't really have the relevant experience. And I'm like, I've got 15 years experience behind me in corporate and event management. And it's always important to share like where we've come from, because one, it shows the journey. Two, it shows the listeners, the business owners, they're not on their own. Because one of the topics that's been really apparent for January is that topic of overwhelm. And that's another benefit of sharing the story, and also about, don't be afraid to miss the simple bits, because sometimes we've got to miss the simple bits to learn, just as that example benefited yourself, just as my first experiences in business has benefited me now. So in terms of that, and obviously growing so rapidly in your first 3 months.
Yeah, scary.
It's exciting though. It's scary, but it's exciting. How do you cope with that overwhelm about the sales and marketing in your own business, and just in general?
I think for me particularly, I always stuck by this one thing that I heard, I think it was about a year ago, 2 years ago, and it was always have a coach and a mentor. I 100% believe in that. And I think that's the way I manage now. When I chose to go and really start example, it's a joint venture. So I obviously have a mentor now, and the person I work with, who's a kind of a silent partner as such, and he mentors me in the business side of things, and I just have free realm to run the business how I want to do it. And it's, it feels like my business, but I'm just supported by a mentor. But before that, I had a coach, one of the best coach. I'll have to say, even if he listens to this eventually, he is one of the best coaches in the UK. And have that knowledge and expertise from him helped contribute to that, to the point where I apply those sales techniques and consultant techniques within marketing now. That's what I pass on to clients. And that's kind of how I manage it all, is learning the processes of how to be, I think it's trying to be a radical realist every single day and be proactive throughout your day. I mean, me and you were speaking before we start recording, default diaries, and diaries are your Bible. I think that was the thing. I think one thing was, what the day before, look at your calendar, your diary, and make sure that you've got no white spaces between 9 or 8 till 5 or 8 till 6. And that's what I kind of live and die by now. It
is. A lot of people see my diary and they go, how the hell do you fit that in? To be blunt, that's what they say to me. They were like, that diary makes me feel ill. And I'm like, but it's organised. I says, and if it's an organised diary, it shouldn't. And that's what helps me with overwhelm. It's organization. If I didn't have that element of organization, which you would expect, seeing as I've owned an event management company before launching obviously the consultancy practice, that is a key strength to mine. So you have to play to your key strengths as well. So one of the tips that we share within the community about overwhelm is by doing that, playing to your key strengths. And if you can outsource anything that doesn't, then do that, but get educated on it first, because you've got to be educated on it to know what to and what not to outsource to make the best return on investment for the business. So at the moment, what works best for you and best practice at the minute with sales and marketing? Because you are, yes, you're in the space. Yes, you're example marketing, but you still have that sales and marketing to do for your own business. So is there anything that you can share in terms of best practice that you're seeing bringing results at the moment?
I would say initially, when I was just starting out, I kind of worked off my personal brand a little bit and my previous network. That really helped elevate me to elevate, generate and operate successfully initially and actively. So actually we started in profit, which was a really weird thing for most businesses. But one of the other things was really having a good network and making sure I put myself out there in person rather than just online. And to be honest, a lot of my footfall and business came from me posting regularly, but tagging the people who I was meeting regularly. So that form of social listening and engaging while I was online, I was just engaging with all the people I was meeting new every single week. Then they would engage with me and feel like, right, I can be a part of their network regularly. And that's been my sales and marketing purpose for the first 3 months completely. I bet when I just had Christmas as well, so I probably lost 2 weeks. And it's to the point now where I'm having to scale and build the team purely because I did those initial things. And that's carried me on and on. And now I work off of very much having a referral basis, have a referral strategy into place. And I can't actually right now take a client on this month or next month. I have to wait until March, which is a nice thing to do, but it came from the social listening side of things and engaging and getting out and networking.
Yeah, 100%. One of our best practices is like organic growth and organic marketing and networking. We talk about it a lot, as listeners will know. Net worth is your network, and vice versa. Network equals net worth. We say it the opposite way around, just because to show that how important the right network is, because they will bring you that business, but you can't be as afraid to ask. I was having this conversation just literally this morning with someone with a very unique value proposition up in Harrogate. And we were talking about that topic of the ask, because she's very much at the start of her journey. It's not profit first yet. It's very much looking at the avenues for funding to help her move the business forward. And I was asking her questions in terms of who have you asked? Because a lot of people say, well, that's not sales and marketing. It is communication. It's a link. You've got to ask, and you've got to basically, if you don't ask and you don't show up, how are you going to be seen and how are you going to be heard? So it's great that you resonate with that as well.
Hugely.
So what has been your biggest kind of challenge you've overcome and your biggest learning experience through this transition and time from obviously going from a paid corporate role to self-employment now? What's that been, that biggest challenge and learning experience for you?
God, that's a hard question. Should have sent me that before today. The biggest challenge I've found since going from a paid role to a business owner is probably, I'd say it's a challenge, but it's being overcome. And it was the challenge of actually being a business owner and knowing how to run a business. But that's where I come back. I went into business with a mentor so that I could have that support. And that was my challenge. And that's why I chose to answer that challenge straight away. So now if I look at accounts, tax, anything like that, sponsorship, kind of all of this sort of stuff, I just go straight to them and ask them, and ask him, what can you help with this? We need
Yeah.
to look at this. And in return, I'll try to support him and his company and with what he does,
Yeah.
because he needs marketing support and strategies.
Mhm.
And it's kind of that really healthy exchange.
Yeah.
That was the biggest challenge for me,
Yeah.
particularly, and also managing everything on top of a normal role
Yeah.
and managing admin invoices and taking all that across. That's what I had to learn quick. That was a challenge.
Yeah. And seeing as you like football, it's like that analogy of making sure you have the right players. I mean, my brother's a football coach and he says it to me all the time. It's not just one player that makes the game, it's the full team. So I suppose it goes back to that analogy in terms of, for kind of feedback, is making sure that you do have that right support. And that goes back to what we was mentioning about your network, and obviously mentorship and having the right coach in place. So would you say that's been your best experience so far? Or is there something else that comes to mind on experiences?
Actually, there was one big challenge that was personally just for me, which was an experience. It was my first speaking gig in person in front of 80 people.
Yeah.
And it was I was fortunate enough to do this from my network, actually. I'll name drop her, Nikki Thomas. She introduced me to somebody last year when I first started out. And that relationship bloomed with an organization where I did a whole load of speaking slots for them, and I did a speaking gig for them as well. And I'd never done that in person in front of that many people compared to online. That was a challenge, and having to make my own presentation as well. That was I think that was a kind of a light bulb moment, thinking, I've done that. Wow. So if I can do that, I guess nothing else is going to be as hard.
Definitely. It is so weird how similar our experiences are. So for those that are listening, as Elliot mentioned, we had a one-to-one before we came on and realised very similar interests, travel, etc., and kind of corporate experiences as well. But we had a similar experience last year where we was at an exhibition and they had masterclasses in the main stage. And the biggest win for us was we went and cheered all the speakers on, because we do speak and we do know how nerve-wracking that is. So it's great that you've been given that opportunity as well in front of 8 people. It's such a boost. It gives you such a buzz, but it's also a sales and marketing activity, guys. People get to hear your value and expertise. And they asked me to step in and do a masterclass in one of the smaller rooms. And I thought to myself, yeah, I'll do it for you, but there's only 20 spaces. There's a really good speaker on before me, so I'm probably not going to get the traffic, but yeah. But because I'd gone round the room and cheered everyone on, everyone then found out that I was stepping in to do a masterclass. And actually, no one went to the main stage. They all came to my masterclass.
That's awesome.
So I got asked at the end, going, do you fancy being on main stage next year? And I'm like, in my head, I'm going, oh my God. And verbally, I'm going, yeah, of course I will. So it's great to see that that's been such a kind of big tick for you, because we know that feeling. And I'm sure the listeners resonating who do speaking engagements know how difficult and daunting that can be, but what a buzz and a challenge and an experience it can be at the same time.
Definitely. Say yes now and worry later.
Yeah, definitely. So on the back of that, can you give any top tips to our listeners on how to get themselves out there at the moment, and maybe show an example of how you've done that for a recent client?
Yeah, I mean, the top tips I always say is when you're trying to, I work off the marketing side first, is look at who your brand advocates are. And look at the people you've already worked with, if possible. If you're a new business, look at who you want to work with and engage with them regularly. But I would say 100%, we all sleep on the people we're already working with or have already worked with. If they already know our service, most of the time, and if anyone is listening, it's always a case of, right, I've worked with this person, had a great experience. Why have I not remarketed and retargeted them? Not for just them to have my services, but who do they know?
Yeah.
Having a referral strategy in place. Thanks for working with me, but do you know, I've got 3 spaces till the end of March. Do you know 3 businesses that could do with my service or get benefit?
Mhm.
And do you know what? I say 3 because if they don't know 3, they'll feel bad for not saying 3, and they'll give you 1 at least minimum.
Yeah,
Because it's a lot easier to ask for 3 rather than just 1, because you
yeah,
at least get 1 minimum then.
yeah.
And that helps generate more referrals.
Mhm.
But from the marketing side of things and sales, lots and lots of little things in a sales call get the sale at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like 60-second rapport building at the start of the call. Do
Mhm.
60 seconds, no business talk. And if you get them to laugh and smile and you laugh at what they're saying, they'll feel automatically more comfortable.
Yeah.
So I'll always spend probably the first couple of minutes trying to build that rapport and get myself laughing with them, because
Mhm.
then they're easily more comfortable,
Yeah.
so much more. And then I just ask them about them, and I always apply certain techniques
Mhm.
like what, why, how, and when. You can apply that to sales and marketing.
Yeah.
So if you're in a sales call, okay, what is it you want to get out of? What is it? If I'm with a client, sometimes if it's appropriate, I'll say to them if they're a bit cold. I'll
Mhm.
say to them, right, what is it you want to get out today? Okay, why is that? How do you see yourself getting there? When do you need to start doing that? And
Mhm.
just that one simple thing with 4 questions gets me to a sale.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I'm not doing it forced, I'm just asking them more.
Yeah.
Um, I would say the sales techniques which I've learned through
Mhm.
I've made thousands of calls,
Yeah.
thousands of calls. The one thing that's probably always got me a meeting or got help towards a conversion is pre-positioning
Mhm.
and finding out budgets and stuff. So
Mhm.
I would always send before a meeting a calendar invite with a link, but I would always send the phone before our meeting though, for me to get the best out of our session. Can I send you a questionnaire to get some things off you?
Mhm.
And I wouldn't sit that meeting unless they sent a questionnaire because they didn't value the call.
Yeah.
So if they valued it, they would fill it out. And when they come to the session, they've put in their marketing budget, they've put all the things they need. I'd read that and we'd go straight from there.
Yeah.
And the sale can be done in 20 minutes, 40 minutes, or an hour.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I now do with clients. I bring that to their marketing side of things and put
Yeah.
process into place.
And
Maybe that was a
again,
bit of a long-winded answer.
no, no, but it does work because we literally done a strategy session back in early December, and the lady was spending too much time, and I'm sure we can all relate to this, guys. And I don't like calling them time wasters, but those that are just there for the golden nuggets and not there for the end result. And I mentioned about qualifying the call before you actually have the meeting. They were like, well, we can't do that. I'm like, why can't you?
Hmm.
It's just a step you have to put in. It's just because no one else does it because they're lazy. So if you start doing that, you're going to be more productive with your time. And if they do not book or they do not send that, then you basically say to them, I can't conduct that call
Hmm.
until that is completed.
Yeah.
Can you complete it? If not, shall we reschedule? It's your business, it's your baby. You work for you.
Yeah.
Yes, you work for them, but not in that scenario. And I love the fact that you've mentioned about laughing, because my biggest tip is smiling.
Hmm.
You can tell if you're on the phone. Like my conversion rate when I first started out as a sales exec, again, very similar roles, I was the highest conversion because I smiled every time I answered. I went,
Yeah.
hi, welcome to GC and events. How can I help? Always in that high pitch, always with the smile. And my boss Nicola used to say to me, why do you always smile, Zoe? And I was like, because the caller can tell.
Hmm.
If I'm not happy to receive their call, why would they be happy to pay for our services? It's giving them the respect they deserve. And we also spoke about this in the webinar, which is a part of the hub offer with Mike Hardcastle on empathic selling, because you've got to treat everyone with a little bit of kindness, and humour definitely goes a long way. So can you just share with us quickly on a result that you've seen with an existing client without mentioning names, on how that's helped them, just so the listeners can see that you do get a return from it by applying obviously these techniques and top tips?
Ooh, from an existing client. Okay. I've got two probably, if I'm allowed. Is that right?
Yeah.
So first one was a lovely lady in Lincoln, who is in the past 3 months working together. she's been able to elevate her brand to where it needs to be. And now she is generating leads and operating regularly, getting leads through her LinkedIn profile. And she's a brilliant process from her service perspective, but she didn't highlight the benefits of it, and she didn't always highlight the value proposition. So the first thing we did on a call was literally saying, right, what is your brand purpose and your value proposition? And do you know what? At that speaking gig I was at, she was the person who was a photographer taking photos there. And I stood next to her as someone asked her about her business, and I looked straight at her while she was explaining her business after we'd learned or done all the value proposition and brand purpose work. And it just rolled off the tongue. And then she just pointed at me and said, yeah, I'm feeling embarrassed because I'm saying in front of him. And since then, we've set a target of 3 leads to get in January from socials. She's got 3 leads, and she's actually got 2 clients from it, getting that 3rd one. And it's all from just promoting the things that are marketable about her business online. She doesn't have to do calls, she doesn't have to do anything. All she has to do is put lots of hard work into marketing what is marketable. We're still working on it. It's a 3 to 6 month thing building a brand. Even 12 months or years, but just initially. That was my number one with an existing client. Another one who I do a bit more work for ads wise and stuff. They were so set on LinkedIn being the be all and end all, but I said to them, literally, why are you focusing on one platform? There's loads of platforms you can publish the same content on. And as soon as we started doing more work together, I said, right, let's go into Facebook groups and the recruitment groups. You're a rail company, great, LinkedIn's big, but you're times engineers, and engineers are in jobs groups and recruitment groups, and they're with those people. So we started posting, because on Business Suite, we schedule your content. You can schedule up to 3 groups per post. So 3 groups per week to 9 groups. There's 3 posts per week to 9 groups. And they've had thousands of pounds worth of training given to actual engineers from Facebook groups, not LinkedIn.
It's about knowing where your target audience is, isn't it? It's a good question I get asked all the time. So we don't say we're social media experts. This is where me and Elliot can dovetail. If I get asked about social media, I would say to them, this is what I do, this is my experience, but you need an expert. Because one of the things I get asked is, I'm not getting any engagement. And I was like, but you're not if you're speaking to an empty room. That's how I explain it. And they'll be like, what do you mean? I went, say you wanted to be an influencer for a beauty brand, and you're saying that message in a room full of B2B rather than B2C or C2C consumers, you're going to get less engagement. But if you say it into a room full of ideal target audience in a B2C to sell the makeup, for example, through your influencing, or a C2C to collaborate and basically build your brand and royalties, etc., multi stream revenue kind of strategy, then you will get engagement. It's about knowing your audience are on that platform. And sometimes people will say to me, don't want to do LinkedIn. I'm like, why? And they'll be like, don't like it. I'm like, why? Give me a reason. And it's always my audience is not on it. And I'll always say, I beg to differ.
I always say that as well. I always say
where I introduce them to Elliot, because then they need that expertise. So it's great that you've had them wins, because it's what it's about, isn't it? It's about getting a return and you doing your job well. So I'm mindful that we've been chatting now for around 30 minutes, and I'm mindful for our listeners are busy too. So just to kind of wrap up the podcast episode for this month, what is next for Elliot and Example? What's in your vision and your pipeline for 2023?
My goals for this year really is to expand the team, train the team. I think for me, I want to do a lot more training and speaking at companies. Go into them, create the strategies actually there for people to follow, and not just the business owners, the actual people that help them, support them if they do have any staff. I see an example this year really becoming a place where people can go to and rely they're going to get value, rather than just be used as another tick. That's what I want to get example to. We're not a consultancy, an agency, or a training provider that just lets people know that there is nothing to tick on the client's list. We choose who we work with because we know they're going to get value, and to see if we can give value to them.
Yeah.
That's where I see us going.
Amazing. And that is a unique value proposition. And it's just, for example, showing that example from your client to what that is, for example. So I thank you really for your time and sharing your expertise, and just showing our listeners that anything is possible, because I truly believe that is what you're trying to create from definitely the kind of the speed and the expansion the business has already approached on in this first 3 months. So I really do believe the sky is the limit for you, and I just thank you for your time, for sharing your own experiences with sales and marketing, but also helping in our listeners with their own challenges and questions on this big topic that can create that overwhelm, and it really doesn't need to. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, Elliot, I know you've mentioned you don't have availability towards the end of February, early March, but I do know you have probably time in your diary to do discovery sessions and have one-to-ones and calls with them. So if anyone did want to get in touch, how would they do that?
It sounds a bit, forgive me for saying, it sounds a bit of wanky, I once heard, but I am the only Elliot Ghali out there. So if you just search me on Google or LinkedIn, you will find me.
Yeah.
Rather than just send you straight to website, you can find me straight away on LinkedIn and or Instagram or Facebook, and be straight there. Actually, TikTok as well. You'll start to see a cool few videos on TikTok.
So there might be a few of our listeners that listen to this via Anchor and don't know of Elliot's full name. So Elliot, can you just spell that out for our listeners, just in case they are listening to this through audio, not video?
No problem. Either you can go to LinkedIn and just search, or any platform, to Elliot with 2 L's, 1 T, and Ghali is spelled Ghali. Ghali. It's Tunisian, so some people get it right.
Amazing. So thank you for that. If you've enjoyed the episode, guys, and want to know more about the hub, this is just one of the key benefits we offer our members. We've got webinars, we've got lives, we've got networking, and we've got access to at least 3 new experts per month to help you move your business forward. So if you're thinking like you'd like to dip your toe in the water with business development and strategy, do just check out the website askzoe.co.uk under services, and you'll find out everything you need to know about the hub. And I thank you for your time again, Elliot. Look forward to working with you more in 2023, and we'll see you next time on the hub, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.